Hey guys, Tony here, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the new flagship 4K media player from Zidoo called the NEO Alpha, where I'll show you the build quality, how to install it, ripping media for it, and who I think this is for, so stay tuned. So a quick disclaimer, the NEO Alpha was sent to me in for review by Fundamental Audio, who are the distributor for Zidoo here in Australia. And I'm not being paid for this review, there is no affiliate deal, and their unit is being shipped back. That being said, this video is supported by those of you who like and subscribe to my channel, as well as becoming a member by clicking the join button down below. I'd like to thank Zidoo and Fundamental Audio for sending the NEO Alpha in for this video. I will have links to where you can buy it down in the description. So in the box, we have the accessories, which contain the Bluetooth backlit remote control, HDMI cable, power cable, screwdriver and screws, as well as the instruction manual. The NEO Alpha comes in a drawstring bag, which is a really nice touch. Taking a look at the exterior, it has a solid look and premium feel about it, and it fits within 3 rack units of a 19-inch wide rack. There is a high-quality 5-inch OLED touchscreen display, which allows you to control the interface from there without needing the remote control. I found it especially useful during the installation to go through and run the firmware update to the latest version, which now includes the TIDAL Connect, which shows you the album cover and track information in high resolution. This is the signature edition, which makes it the premium model, and it has a lot of high-grade internals that predispose it for music playback. I'll put the specs up on the screen so that you can take a look, but there is a powerful 6-core CPU on board with a high-quality power supply and audio-grade components. We have a number of inputs and outputs for both audio and video, with the option for a control system like Control 4 with RS-232, as well as separate HDMI input and outputs for audio and video. There are separate RCA and balanced XLR connectors for 2-channel music. So one of the big takeaways from the NEO Alpha is that while this is exceptional at playing back one-to-one movie rips with either Dolby Vision or HDR10, there is equal importance and focus on music playback. Installation was pretty easy and straightforward. I had to move my shelf down above the Trinnov as the Z1000 Pro is a little narrower. The OLED screen is a high-resolution, bright and responsive screen. The first steps for me were to make sure that the latest firmware update was installed, as it now supports TIDAL Connect, which I'll show you in a little bit. Once the update was complete, I went through and checked the various settings and the options and prepared it for when I went into the home theater. I think that the NEO Alpha would be great in a 2-channel setup where you can visually see it, but also looks really nice in an AV rack as well. With the TIDAL Connect addition to the Zidoo NEO Alpha, on your TIDAL app you can now use the mirror function, and it will push all of the wall art and all of the functionality included in the TIDAL app to your NEO Alpha, included in the on-screen display. This is a really handy feature if you have a playlist set up and you want to show what's playing on the OLED screen, especially in a 2-channel setup. You can also do this for Spotify and Roon. Moving into the home theater now, we have the start screen for the NEO Alpha, which is similar to the other Zidoo players where there are options for music, movies, apps and settings. In settings, I like to do a couple of things first to make sure that the experience is optimized for my personal taste. The first thing I change is to disable subtitles from playing with every movie. I wish this was off by default, but it's really easy to change. The other thing I like to do is double check the video settings and make sure everything there is okay, and one of the cool features of the Zidoo players is that it can push Dolby Vision VS10 onto all playback, and I like to do this for Blu-rays as it makes 1080p movies really pop. Here's a great example of that, as I have both the Blu-ray and 4K versions of Atomic Blonde and The Great Wall. You can see there's virtually no difference at all between them when I'm pushing them both through the VS10 engine. There are quite a lot of excellent movies which haven't yet made it to 4K, and the upscaling power of the Zidoo, in my opinion, is second to none in many cases. It's hard to tell if a movie is in 4K or not, but thankfully you can tell if you have the poster option set in the corner. For audio, there are quite a few settings here to allow you to leverage the hardware potential of the NEO Alpha. So depending on your setup, whether you want to use the internal DAC or if you have an external device like a CD player or an external DAC, you can change the settings from here to reflect that. For apps, we have the built-in apps on the Zidoo, which make up the music player, movie player, and various functions on the Zidoo. The Neo Alpha is a media player and as such isn't designed to house your other apps, but there are ways to sideload them on if you desire. I'm not going to go through that in this video. For me, the poster wall has been a game changer for how I use my home theater. I am a big believer in physical media, and having my own private Netflix style poster wall to pick and choose what I want to watch by browsing my collection and being able to check out movie posters and other metadata has really elevated the experience in my home theater in a way that I never thought was possible. I rip my physical media and I store it on my NAS. The rips are one-to-one rips of the actual M2TS files on the disc, so there is no compression or change to the audio or video. It's simply moving from an optical disc over to a hard drive platter, and the Zidoo's capability to reproduce the audio and the video, in my opinion, rivals that even of a high-level disc player. I've done comparisons in other videos, so I'll leave a card up above if you'd like to check that out after watching this video. By storing my movies on my NAS, I can connect to the movie library from any of my setups with my Zidoo players, and one of the coolest additions to the Zidoo is its integration with Tract. Tract is a massive online movie database with an API that allows you to connect to third-party players like the Zidoo, and it synchronizes your library, including what you watch, when you watch it, as well as your watch progress. The benefit of this is that with the Zidoo players, if you happen to stop watching it in one room and then you decide to pick it up in another room, that the constant synchronization between Tract allows the other player to know where you're up to. While this may not seem like a groundbreaking feature, remember that unlike Plex, which maintains a server, each of these Zidoo players are completely independent. But with Tract working as the central source of truth for your watch data, this then becomes a very powerful feature. Take this to the next level where you may be watching something on the Apple TV, which is synchronized to Tract. It will even work across different platforms, so watching something on Plex or Infuse 7 on the Apple TV, which are also talking to Tract, I can then go to the Zidoo and it will then show the movie progress. To me, that is a really cool feature. I'll leave a link to Tract down in the description for those that are interested. Another very cool feature on the Zidoo is the ability to modify the poster art and the title and covers, which can be quite time consuming. And if you have multiple Zidoo players, it can be a real pain to try and match it up on both. Thankfully, there is a network backup and restore option, which also works for movies that you have to rematch, so you don't need to go searching and rematching either. The poster thumbnail art and the posters, as well as the matches, will automatically update after you do a backup and restore, which is really cool. Storing the posters to a network location is also ideal for sharing, but it does add a couple of milliseconds of lag. The Neo Alpha is quite quick and punchy, which is really nice. So now let's take a look at some demos of my favorite movies so that you can see how awesome the Zidoo looks. As discussed, it supports HDR and Dolby Vision, and while it's not quite as powerful as a dedicated video processor like a Mad VR or a Lumagen, you do get some really nice tone mapping control that you can adjust for each movie if you so desire. It may not be ideal for everyone, but for me, I love the ability to tweak the settings at the start of a movie to get the best mix of color, brightness, and saturation. It really enhances the movie watching experience. As I mentioned earlier, the Zidoo NEO Alpha is exceptional at 1080p upscaling. It does for Blu-rays, and in some movies it's very difficult to tell the difference. The audio is great as well. I do have a Trinnov Altitude 16 processor with power amplifiers and the Crix MX10 speakers for my LCR, which also give me the grand sound stage to match the incredible image and the audio pass-through from the NEO Alpha. I will have an updated room tour coming on the channel very soon, so why not hit the subscribe button for me so that you don't miss that video, as well as hitting the like button for me as well. So once you're in the Zidoo Music app, you can go and add a folder. I have saved already on my NAS a folder called Music, so I just put a couple of tracks on that I like to listen to sometimes, so I've added them in, some Ed Sheeran, and you can see it's gone in and added those tracks. So we can go over to tracks and then we can go over and play one of them, and I do have it on fairly low because I don't want to get done for copyright, and you can see it's also downloaded the lyrics and it is actually synchronizing the lyrics to the track, so that's another pretty cool feature as well. So that's how you add music. You can also play full screen, so if you want to just have it on that, and it will say no lyrics until it downloads the lyrics, and then it will just start playing the lyric as it's singing and synchronize it all, which is a really nice feature. So that's pretty much the music built-in app if you've got your own music. and you have it stored on a NAS and then you can just play it that way. So a quick mention about how I rip my media. I use a program called DVD Fab, which is a paid program, and the reason that I use it is because it will do an exact copy of the ISO container on the Blu-ray disc. There are many methods you can go through to rip media other than DVD Fab, such as Make MKV, which is free, but DVD Fab is what I use for my workflow. I know that I promised a video showing my ripping process from start to finish and how I store my media, and I promise you that video is coming in a few months, so stay tuned for that. It will be worth the wait. In the meantime, if you'd like to go ahead and order a drive, my friend Alex is offering to sell ripping drives to my viewers, so check the link in the description for his email address. You can contact him and let him know that Tony sent you, and he can organize the best drive for your ripping needs. So guys, my verdict on the Zidoo NEO Alpha. I think it's an incredible piece of tech. I'm really excited about the prospects of Zidoo as we go from physical media players into a more convenient way of watching movies in a home theater environment. The NEO Alpha is a signature edition, and it's certainly at the top end of the market in terms of price, coming in at $3,000. You are getting a very premium product with no expense spared on internal components like the DAC, power supply, XLR inputs, gold-plated terminals, and the machined aluminium chassis. It is a perfect match for those with high-end audio and video equipment. I don't really have anything negative to say about the NEO Alpha, other than I'd really like to get one now, but I'll have to start saving my pennies again as I just bought a Trinog, as I think it would be a great pairing with the Altitude 16 processor in my rack. I'll be sad to see it go, but my trusty Z1000 Pro will be heading back into the rack to take its place for now. If you're interested in buying a Zidoo NEO Alpha for your setup, I do have links to where you can buy one both internationally and here in Australia, so do check the links, they're down in the description. I'd like to thank Zidoo and Fundamental Audio for sending this in for review. I really enjoyed experiencing the flagship model of the Zidoo lineup, and I'm excited to see what comes next from this innovative company. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, make sure you smash the like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel to see my future videos. I have a big schedule of videos coming on the channel, so subscribing and ticking the bell is the best way to make sure that you don't miss them. Anyway guys, a very big thank you for watching this far, but that's it for this one. You'll catch me in the next one. Bye for now.